Hi, welcome to BizJet TV. Today we're going to be talking about the hidden world of private jet maintenance. This is a really, really important issue if you're going to be buying a private jet, is to figure out how the maintenance has been done on the jet and also to plan your maintenance on the jet, because there's a lot of hidden things that people don't tell you about. And when you go on the internet and you're looking at lovely pretty pictures and videos about airplanes, as I always say, you know, the human factor behind the airplane is important, and I talk about the importance of pilots here on BizJet TV, but also how your maintenance is done. How the pilots fly the airplane also will cause certain extra maintenance events to happen. So it needs to be flown in a certain way, looked after in a certain way, possibly in a hangar, and preventative maintenance needs to be planned, and you need to be doing your maintenance in a certain way. So, and you need to be doing it with certain people. So this is what we're going to be talking about here. So let's get into the first thing, because aircraft maintenance is quite a complex a world to navigate in. And you're a business guy, you're watching this video because you're thinking about buying a private jet, which is great. But this is very much a technical decision. If you don't know about airplanes, you need to have a technical team to look into this for you, to make sure that you're buying the right thing. And please don't look at the numbers and think that, you know, it's just all about the price. Because as I always say, if you're going to buy cheap, you're eventually going to pay later on. And the reason why people buy an aircraft to use for business, even for leisure, a lot of people fly their families around on a private jet. They're just sick and tired of going through terminals and delays and whatnot with the airlines. So, you know, if you've got the money, and talking about money, there's only about 3 million people in the world that can afford private jet travel. And of these 3 million people, probably around about 30 to 35,000 own their own aircraft. So there aren't that many. But if you're one of these people that's thinking of buying a plane, you know, you're really buying time, as I say, in my book, The Quantum Economy. You want to take your life to a quantum level. And it's all about how you manage your energy, your time. I always talk about energy management more than time management. So let's talk about maintenance. So the first thing, when you're looking at buying an aircraft, you have to have an engineer go through the aircraft records. Now, what the aircraft records do is they tell the story of the airplane from the minute it came out of the factory. Every single flight that the airplane does, it's recorded in what's called a tech log. And this tech log will tell you how many landings, how many hours. It will give you information about the oil changes. It will give you information about when a wheel was changed, when any maintenance was done. And you can sort of look and see, in particular, when the unscheduled maintenance events happen and how many happened and what type happened. That gives you an idea of how the airplane was flown and how the airplane was maintained. Was it maintained properly? Did they get proper parts, or did they buy cheap parts? If you see they keep changing a certain part, they obviously didn't buy good parts, which means it's an indicator that the owner told his people to go and try and buy cheap parts. And that tells you a story of the airplane. The airplane's not being kept very well. So these are kind of things that crop up when you start going through the aircraft records. So that's really, really important that's done. Now, aircraft also go through what's called C checks and D checks. Some airplanes have to do a C check every 8 to 10 years, where they do a landing gear overhaul. And they also do a hot section check on the engines, where they go in with a probe to look and see, so usually a borescopic check, to have a look inside the engine to make sure there's no corrosion there happening, because, you know, corrosion could start to develop inside the engine, which could lead to an engine failure. So you don't want that to happen. So if you do this kind of thing, you can prevent those things from happening. And then you've got the D check, where they basically take the airplane apart almost, and this is where they find corrosion in the flaps, corrosion in the tail. There's some airplanes that have had to have a whole tail replacement because of corrosion. And so these things have to be looked out for. Other airplanes, for example, have a problem with the windshield. I mean, I'm dealing with an airplane right now, and it just going right now through the 60-month check, which is really, really good. And it had the windshield replaced last week. So that tells me that when this airplane comes out, it's ready for delivery beginning of December, that, you know, the buyer, or in the case, the guy that's leasing the airplane, is going to be leasing something that's in really good condition, because it's just gone through all that big maintenance event, and they would have cleared a number of things, including the windshield. So that's an important thing. Now, the other thing we have to look at is the scheduled or unscheduled maintenance. So the scheduled maintenance is pretty easy. You look through those events, but it's the unscheduled ones that you want to kind of see how many of those have happened, and then you want to try and prevent them from happening. And so there's a certain amount of preventative maintenance that needs to be done. So when you're going through the records, if you see that the previous owner, went through a lot of preventative maintenance, that's telling you that they looked after the airplane very well, and that's something that you need to be doing as well, is preventative maintenance. Now, true cost drivers and engine programs and maintenance programs, this is an important thing. Every manufacturer has a maintenance program that you pay into. or you can pay into if you want to, like Rolls-Royce Corporate Care, for example. And that takes care of all the Rolls-Royce engines. That's a good one to have. And what it basically is, you're paying into this Rolls-Royce Corporate Care, for example. You're paying in every month, and you pay a certain amount of money per hour and per month, and that money gets set aside for when the airplane engines need to be overhauled. You can have a program like that, or you can say, no, I don't want to pay for Rolls-Royce Corporate Care. It's like an insurance policy, as I said. I'll just pay whenever something happens or something goes wrong. But you need to make sure that you've got the money there. So some people like to just create their own account, and they put so much money away every month or every hour for these events, instead of going for the maintenance program that the manufacturer is offering. Now, obviously, when you buy a new airplane, that's part of the warranty. But when you're buying a 10, 15-year-old airplane, you may want to have it on programs. Usually an airplane that's on programs is more valuable than one that isn't, because also on programs you get a lot of preventative stuff included in the price. So that just and they keep tabs on what's happening, and they'll tell you, oh, you've got this coming up, that coming up. And so that's another indicator. If you're buying an airplane that's not on programs, you want to really look carefully with a magnifying glass to make sure that maintenance was done and was done properly and on time. So if it's not on programs, then it's a bit of an alarm bell, that you need to look a bit more deeper into the records and maybe ask a few more questions. So these are really, really important things. Now, when you're looking at, for example, the interior and the paint, and I was doing this with another client just the other day, and he says to me, oh, I don't like the paint, I don't like the carpet in the airplane. I said, look, it's what we're going to do. We're going to buy the plane, we're going to fly it for a few months, because the carpet, the carpet in this plane was not nice carpet. When I saw the specs, I thought, oh, I don't know if he's going to like the carpet. I won't say anything in case he's one of these people that likes that type of carpet. Well, he turned around to me and didn't. So I said, what we'll do is we'll fly for a few months, and then we'll book in the paint scheme change and the carpet change when the next maintenance event comes up, because that way we can program it in advance. And you've got time to see what the carpet looks like at altitude. It may turn out that you're at 45,000 feet and the carpet looks actually nice. Or you may just get used to it and decide to not change the carpet. And the same with the outside, the exterior. You may decide, you know what, at the end of the day, I'll just keep this color scheme. Who cares? So let's not rush into spending money on the airplane initially. Let's just operate the airplane for a few months, and then and then if you're still convinced that you want to make the changes, then we'll make the changes. So that's kind of the thing. Now, some of the mistakes that owners make with the maintenance is sometimes they fly the airplane all the way up to the limits before they do anything. And that's never a good idea as well, because then suddenly something could break unexpectedly, and you're on a business trip. And the last thing you want, because you bought the airplane to save you time, the last thing you want, you're in Uganda on some business deal for some gold mine that you own, and the airplane breaks down in Uganda. Now, if you break down in Uganda, you're not going to get that thing fixed in a few hours. You're going to have Gulfstream fly out in an airplane with an engineer and the parts, and that could take a day or two, sometimes even more than that. In the meantime, you're stranded down in Uganda, and we need to get another airplane in there to pick you up and take you back home. So, there's all this. So if you play the game and make sure that you do the preventative maintenance and do the maintenance on time, or maybe ahead of schedule, then you'll be able to avoid these kind of incidents from happening. And that's really, really important. The other thing that some people make a mistake on is choosing the wrong maintenance shop. So you want to make sure that you choose a reliable maintenance facility. You want to book well in advance. You want to make sure that they hire people, the best people, and not like these policies that are out there now in the US and in some parts of Europe, where maintenance companies need to hire so many people of this color, so many people of that color, some people of this religion, so many people of that religion, so many handicapped people. You don't want them to be hiring with that kind of criteria, because you're not going to get the best. So you want to make sure that the company that you're using has hired the best maintenance people out there, and that they don't have a big turnover of people, and make sure that they keep their people as well. Because, the people that are going to be working on your airplane, you want to make sure that it's taken care of. I mean, the last thing you want, this recent accident of this MD-11 cargo airplane UPS that crashed in Louisville, apparently it just came out of maintenance, and the engines weren't put back together properly. So the engine fell off, and all the pilots on board died, and it killed a few people on the ground as well. Now that was a maintenance problem, but reality, it was a human factors problem. So human factors is always an important key in an aircraft. It's not just the people flying the plane or the flight attendant choosing the right food and all that kind of thing. It's also the maintenance people. So when you're going to choose a maintenance shop, make sure you vet the maintenance people that are going to be working on it. And there are some really good companies out there that do a great job and select good people. So that's kind of another thing. Some people try and go cheap on the maintenance and that. The other thing is refurbishing. And sometimes people buy an airplane and they think, oh, we need a whole new interior. But very often, with very little money, you can do things like change the carpet, refurbish the seats. Sometimes you just have to put new covers on, or sometimes you just need a deep clean. But some jet owners don't know that, and you get somebody to sell you an airplane, and you've got the maintenance facility involved that do the pre-buy, and they say, "Oh, it looks like you need a new interior. These seats are really irreparable, and we need to put new seats in." Just because they want to sell you the new seats, when sometimes seats can be refurbished and very quickly, or they just need a deep clean, and it may cost you maybe $10,000 to do a deep clean on the cabin, and it looks like a whole new airplane. I've had this done before, an airplane where the interior looked a bit battered, a bit outdated and everything. And then we went in, did a whole deep clean. And guess what? The owner thought, hey, what have you done? How much is it going to cost me? You put all new seats in. No, we didn't. We just did a deep clean. How much is the bill? $25,000. Oh, nice surprise. So this is another reason why, this is a technical decision and you need technical experts to help you with these things. The other thing on aircraft, and I get this very often, people call me up and they say, especially when they want to buy the bigger, larger jets, they say, I want a shower on my Gulfstream G550. I want a shower in my Global 7500 or whatever. And they go on about having this shower. Now, showers on these private jets is never a good idea, unless you're buying a Boeing business jet or an Airbus corporate jet where the shower isn't an issue. The problem with the shower is because you've got all this water tank, water storage on the airplane to have showers, and it's quite a bit of water. The first thing is it makes the airplane weigh more. So now you carry less fuel, which reduces the range. But that's not the big issue. The big issue is when you get to do these big, large checks where they look for corrosion, very often these airplanes that have had showers in them end up having corrosion problems. And this can be very, very expensive. I mean, sudden $1.5 million bill because they found corrosion at the back of the airplane where the shower and the water tank is. So, unless you're buying an airplane that's fairly new and you don't intend to keep it for 10 years, maybe just 2 or 3 years, then, you're not going to go to the major inspection. You can have your showers on the airplane and off you go. If you're buying something that's a bit older, you want to look into this thing. Don't buy a plane with a shower. That's my recommendation. But if you do buy a plane with a shower, try and buy something that's as new as possible or that's just recently come out of a major check and all corrosion has been clear, because it will end up at some point causing corrosion in the aircraft. So you've got to be aware of that. I did tell you that this is a problem that has happened many, many times. And so you need to be aware. What I don't do if I'm helping someone acquire an aircraft and they tell me I want a shower in it. Yes, sir. Okay, we'll get one with a shower. I always tell them, I said, shower's not a good idea because, and if they insist that they want a shower, fine, we'll buy a plane with a shower. But when corrosion happens, they can't come crying to me because I did tell them in advance. So that's really, really important to understand. So that's really, the other thing I wanted to mention is that when you are going to be planning your maintenance, you want to be planning the maintenance in advance. Or if you're going to change anything in the aircraft, like putting Starlink internet in there or doing an avionics upgrade, you want to book in advance so that the maintenance shop can order the parts in advance. So you say, okay, in 6 months' time, we're going to put Starlink in the airplane. Okay, so they order all the parts and it says it takes 3 weeks. It's going to happen in, I don't know, May, for example. So you plan, it's going to be down for 3 weeks, and that when the airplane gets to the maintenance shop, all the parts are ready there, ready to go. So you want to really plan your downtime on your airplane, and then maybe have a solution for you when the airplane's down that you can, either charter, or you have a jet card with one of the charter brokers or with one of the fractional ownership companies, whatever, or you have a second airplane, or you borrow your friend's plane, whatever it may be. That's another thing which you need to look into. And planning, strategic scheduling is important. A good proper pre-buy inspection, as I mentioned. You don't want any surprises. Choosing the right MRO, maintenance, repair, overhaul facility. And the other thing is keeping the plane in a hangar if you can. Hangar is a good idea, especially if you're living in a place where there are harsh winters. But even if you're living in a place in the desert, the sand does get into the engines and in between the flaps and the ailerons and whatever. But if you keep the airplane in the hangar with the hangar door shut, that will keep the airplane safe, because sand can get into airplanes and cause all sorts of problems. Also, if it's near the sea, you can get corrosion. If it's in a very humid place, you can get corrosion. Or if it's in, up in the mountains in the winter with snow and ice, and that's another problem. So you really want to try and keep your airplane in an air-conditioned / heated hangar. And even when you're buying an airplane, you want to ask the question, well, where's this airplane lived, and has it been hangared all the time or not? That's another question to ask, but that's another thing you need to consider when you're buying a plane, is having hangar space. There's some parts of the world where hangar space is very difficult to find and very expensive. But there are so many, and this is the advantage with the private jets, there's so many other secondary airports where you could house your airplane. And so you want to look into that too and see how much that's going to cost you. But, you want to play all these kind of games because, an airplane that stays in a hangar and lives in the hangar will have probably less unscheduled maintenance events than one that's stored outside, because it's taken good care of. It's heated, the hangar, it's keeping it away from the ice and the bad weather. Everything, is heated nicely. Or you've got air conditioning if you're living in the middle of the desert where it's 50 degrees Celsius in the summer. You want it in an air-conditioned environment. These are all things that help to preserve all the instruments and all the different systems on the aircraft, and helps the airplane not to suddenly break down, which is what you don't want. Because as I said before, you're buying time, you're not buying a plane. And this is why your aircraft purchase needs to be approached in this way, so that it's taken good care of, so that you have bought time and not a plane. And so please, 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 if you're thinking of buying an airplane, don't go cheap. As I always say, we always lead with the pilots here. We hire the right pilots, we pay them the right salary, we get them trained in the right way, we hire the right maintenance people and the right maintenance company to do the maintenance and track everything. And we have to plan this thing carefully so that you know exactly when your airplane is going to be stopping for maintenance and what it's going to cost you. And we have none of these surprises, so to speak. So that's all from me here on this episode of BizJet TV. Have you had a horror story that you can tell about aircraft maintenance? Did you buy an airplane that ended up being a really bad ship? Or have you just had some unscheduled maintenance events that were badly done? Or did you take your airplane to a particular shop and they didn't do a good job? Tell the story. Let's get stories shared in the comments. And if you want to come on to BizJet TV and actually tell the story in an interview, that would be great. Just ping me a message and we'll schedule you in to do an interview here on BizJet TV. And check out this other video we did recently about the latest Gulfstream G300, very nice airplane that's coming to the market. And that's all from Risa Polly here on BizJet TV. Remember to also subscribe to the channel, and if you like it, why not buy yourself a copy of the Quantum Economy? Lots of information in here about private jet ownership and how private jet will really get you into that quantum economy. That's all from me here on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.